David Greenberger is here with me now, and you are the expert on the 1031 exchange. I want to welcome you to the Realty Report.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for flying in.
Glad to be on the ground.
That's good. On the ground, and we're happy you're with us. And I got to ask you, how many people ask you, what do you do? What is a 1031 exchange? Does anybody know this?
We're teaching them one by one.
Yeah.
And you see, the thing is, a 1031 exchange refers to Internal Revenue Code Section 1031, and what it lets you do is sell investment real estate tax-free and purchase investment real estate tax-free. So as long as you're going to sell and buy within 180 days, you don't have to pay any taxes on the sale property, which is your first piece of property that would be in your 1031 exchange. So yes, a lot of people ask me, and the government does not promote it very well.
I can imagine.
It's a tax break that's a huge benefit, especially when people make a lot of money in real estate.
So people typically, before they talk to you, David Greenberger, the expert on the 1031 exchange, before they talk to you, they are afraid, I'm guessing, of capital gains taxes.
Those that are aware of capital gains. See, a lot of people don't even know that they're going to get hit with a huge tax bill.
That's a hard way to find out, then.
Yeah, it is. They're not very happy when they find out about it. They didn't know that they had a partner in their real estate. The government becomes their partner. What happens is they don't even know how to calculate the gains. But when they realize that whatever they bought the property for is going to be calculated by looking at the sale price less what they purchased it for. So if you bought something for $100,000 and you're selling it now for $200,000, you have gain of $100,000.
Yeah.
And you're going to be charged up to 25% taxes on that $100,000, depending on where you are, which state, because there's a state capital gains tax in many cases and a federal capital gains tax. So $25,000 basically on that $100,000 gain. Now, if you made $1 million on your property, you'd be taxed $250,000.
And you have a very happy silent partner.
Yeah. But you wouldn't be silent; you'd be screaming because 1/4 of your body was cut off.
Well, okay. Let's just explain the 1031 exchange with this $200,000 property example.
Okay.
Somebody wants to sell a $200,000 property.
So, if someone is selling a $200,000 property, as we said, they may have purchased it for $100,000, and there would be $100,000 in gain. That's going to be taxable. So rather than have to pay what would equate to a $25,000 tax bill, they would want to do a 1031 exchange. And the first thing they do is contact a 1031 exchange company, which is what our company does, and it's called 1031 Exchange Advantage. And you would open up an exchange, which allows us to draw paperwork and get it to your closing agent. Now, this has to be done before you sell and close on your piece of real estate. So when you get a contract to sell your real estate, that's a good time to open up your exchange, because by the time that piece of property closes, typically 30 or 60 days after the contract is signed, you need to have your exchange company selected and the documents prepared and available for that closing. That's the first step of the exchange.
Okay, and you have to have a 1031 exchange
company. Yeah.
Company, okay.
If you don't use an exchange company, you will not be allowed to get the tax break.
And that's what 1031exchangeadvantage.com does. That's
Correct.
what you do. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So we will be happy to talk to people if they call at any time. They can look us up on the internet, which is 1031exchangeadvantage.com. But basically, they need an exchange company to walk them through, to do the paperwork that the IRS requires, and to hold the funds. That's the third piece of what we do, to hold the funds that come out of the sale of that property. So when the sale occurs, whatever money is due the client is going to be sent to the exchange company to hold in trust until the client purchases another piece of property.
So they make $100,000 on this $200,000 home, and you're holding that money as the intermediary.
Whatever comes out of the sale.
Whatever, yeah, okay, the profit,
company.
okay.
Right. Yeah, as the exchange company. And an exchange company is typically known as either an intermediary or an accommodator or a 1031 exchange. It's confusing because there's a few different names, but it's the same function. Which
look for 1031.
Yeah, that would be good.
And preferably the name David Greenberger.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so you're holding this money, and then it is spent when that person finds the real estate they want to buy with that
Yeah,
money.
which is typically called the replacement property. And they would then contact us if they need funds from what we're holding to use as a deposit. We would send those funds for the deposit to who's ever doing the closing on that property. And then when the closing occurs, we'll send the balance of the funds. And that will conclude the exchange. Now, they can sell one property and buy one property. That's what they must do. But if they want to sell one property and buy more than one property within the 180 days or the 6-month ruling, then they can do that as well.
Can they buy something other than real estate?
No, it has to be real estate for real estate.
Yeah, so you get your eyes off the bling. A nice ranch somewhere in upstate New York is much better.
Any kind of real estate for any kind of real estate, and it's been much more liberalized. And a lot of people that think they know about 1031 exchanges may think that you have to sell a ranch for a ranch or a condo for a condo, and that's not the case. It can be a condo for a ranch, piece of land for an apartment building, a garage for a doghouse. It's any kind of real estate for any kind of real estate.
Yeah, and the money you save by not sending a whole chunk of cash off to your silent government partner, well, you could buy something else then.
That's very, very true. I have a client that actually made me come back to New Jersey, where I used to practice law, and go to the corner to view a $1 million apartment building that he bought by putting down $100,000 and borrowing $900,000. But that particular property, he says, look at that property. I never would have purchased that if I didn't have the $100,000 to put down on it. The $100,000 I have because the last few sales I've done of my real estate were exchanges, and I saved over $100,000 in taxes and used that savings to purchase that apartment building on that corner. So yes, that's very true.
And one other thing, recently here in Denver, we had a company that was doing 1031 exchanges, and they went bankrupt. And it seemed that, I don't know if they didn't have the, they must have had or thought they had the expertise, but I don't know if they were licensed or is there something somebody should look for?
Yeah, that's a critical question. It's a very, very important question that you find the right exchange company to work with. And there's a couple of different things that you should know and you should ask for. The exchange company should be licensed. There are different states that do require licensing, and they should have licenses in all the states that require it. They should be bonded, and you should call the bonding company and verify that no one's ever sued these people as an exchange company for taking any of the funds or misappropriating the funds and so forth. And they should have errors and omission insurance as well. So bonding, call the bonding company, make sure the company has never had any claims, and our company has never had any claims, and see if there's errors and omission insurance and state licensing. Those are the critical factors. And you should know whether the company is reputable. If you can get referrals, that would be very good. We happen to be affiliated with some of the largest real estate companies in the country that have checked us out. But you want to make sure that you do your own due diligence and ask for some references and so forth.
And a good place to start is 1031exchangeadvantage.com, and you are the founder of the company.
That's correct. Well, actually, I purchased the company 5 years ago. It's a 25-year-old company, and we've been marketing it more regularly in the last few years, and it's becoming more popular because there's so much appreciation in real estate. And when people go to the internet and look up taxes and 1031 exchanging and do the math and realize what a capital gains tax can cost them, then they start to look into exchanging further, and we're getting a lot of people who are just researching it and getting into it that way.
Yeah, before you go, I got to ask you, you just said there's a lot of appreciation in real estate. So what would your response be to someone who's a little worried about real estate right now and the bubble and subprime and all the negatives they're hearing about?
Well, there's always negatives, there's always positives, but as far as back as I can remember when they made real estate, which is at least 100 years ago, until today, it's gone up.
Yeah.
So, like any other market, there's ups and downs. But if you're going to be in something that they don't make anymore, which is real estate, and you're going to be a little patient, I think everybody's just going to be fine. And who would have ever thought we'd be selling properties at these values? If you would have asked all of us 15, 20 years ago, bubble or not, what would we be selling properties at? No one would have guessed these prices.
Oh, yeah. I know it has gone up. It is incredible.
But over time, it just keeps going up.
Exactly. Yeah, there's going to be bumps. And there's going to be some negatives, but I think real estate. You never hear anybody say, "Gosh, I'm glad I didn't buy that land."
That's true, but the point is that land or real estate, with the power of the 1031 exchange, has to be better than any other investment, because any other investment, whether it's a stock in your IRA or what have you, sooner or later gets taxed. And once you're taxed, you lose 15, 20, 30% of what you've built. So if you want to build wealth indefinitely, you need to exchange because, if you don't have to give anything up, you're fine. And as long as you keep exchanging, you won't have to pay any taxes. So my slogan is death and taxes are certain as long as you exchange. Unless you exchange.
Unless you exchange. Yeah, why take it one step backward with every 2 steps forward? Just keep going forward and gain that value and that wealth with the 1031 exchange.
That's correct.
David Greenberger, the expert on the 1031 exchange at 1031exchangeadvantage.com.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming by.
Sure.